Okay, so have you ever like completely run out of ice at the worst possible time?
The worst.
Right? It's like instantly kills the party vibe.
Totally.
So we're diving deep into portable ice makers today,
We are.
but not just any ice maker.
Mhm.
We're talking specifically about the ecozy Portable Ice Maker Countertop, because that's what you're thinking about buying, right?
Right.
You even sent us like a ton of info on this thing. Reviews, the product description, even a whole YouTube video. We've got it all.
You are serious about your ice.
Oh, absolutely. And we're here to help you figure out, is this the machine for you?
Yes.
So let's start with like just the basic specs from the product description, because a couple of things really jumped out at me. 9 ice cubes in 6 minutes. That seems really fast.
Yeah, that is really fast. To give you like some context here, most countertop models take at least 8 to 10 minutes per cycle.
Oh, wow.
So this one could actually save you a good chunk of time, especially, if you're making drinks for a lot of people.
That's a really good point. Okay, and then it says it can make 26 pounds of ice in a 24-hour period.
Okay.
So what do you make of that number?
I mean, that is a decent amount of ice. More than enough, I'd say, for most households. Unless you're like running an iced coffee shop out of your kitchen or something.
True, true.
But, it really depends. Like, think about how much ice you actually go through on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Are you someone who uses a ton of ice every day? Or are you mostly thinking you'll pull this out for, like, parties and special occasions?
That's a really good point. Okay, I did notice, too, it's got a self-cleaning function, which is awesome.
Yes.
And it offers 2 different ice sizes.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Those are both really nice perks. I
Yeah.
mean, self-cleaning, amazing. Although, you'll still want to do regular maintenance to keep it in tip-top shape.
Right.
But yeah, 2 ice sizes is great for flexibility.
Yeah.
You've got the smaller nuggets, perfect for everyday drinks. And then the larger cubes, those melt slower, which is awesome if you want to make cocktails or just chill something for a longer time.
That makes total sense. Now, we love a good user review.
Oh, yes.
So what kind of like insider intel did you find digging through the online reviews?
A lot of positive feedback overall, which is a good sign. But let's get into the specifics. One reviewer said this ice maker was, and I quote, great for cocktails,
Ooh.
which, piqued my interest.
Okay, yeah.
Now, that could just be, like, their personal preference, but it does make me wonder if there's something about the ice quality itself that makes it, particularly well-suited for cocktails.
Like maybe it's clearer ice or something.
Yeah,
Or melts slower.
exactly.
Okay.
Clear ice usually means there's less dissolved air, which can affect the taste of your drink.
Huh.
And yeah, slower melting key for cocktails keeps your drink colder for longer without getting all watered down too quickly.
Ooh, that's good to know. I'm learning so much about ice right now. This is
Ah.
great. What else did you find in the reviews?
Well, there's a lot of talk about, and I'm putting this in quotes, foggy ice.
Foggy ice.
Which, just to clarify, is pretty typical with these faster, more portable ice makers.
Okay.
So it's important to know that doesn't necessarily mean the ice is bad.
Right.
It's just a result of how quickly the water freezes, which kind of traps these tiny air bubbles inside and gives it that cloudy look. But it doesn't actually impact the taste or the quality of the ice itself.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, so moving on from like the written reviews, let's talk about that YouTube review you sent us,
Yeah.
because sometimes there's nothing like actually seeing a product in action.
Totally. Visuals are so helpful.
Mm.
So what stood out to you when you watched the review?
One thing that caught my eye right away was just how compact this ice maker actually is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. The reviewer even mentioned like they were expecting it to be a lot bigger, especially considering how much ice it can make.
That is interesting because, yeah, I was kind of picturing something with a much bigger footprint.
Right. It's like you assume more ice equals bigger machine.
Exactly.
But it seems like this ecozy model, it's kind of breaking that mold a little bit.
Okay, I like that.
And speaking of breaking the mold, the reviewer also really emphasized using clean filtered water in the machine.
Which that makes sense, especially with all the talk about foggy ice,
That's
right?
exactly.
I'm guessing using filtered water can help, minimize mineral deposits that could build up over time and maybe make the ice less clear.
Precisely. And it also kind of puts that self-cleaning function into perspective, Like, yeah, it's a great feature to have, but it's not like you can just completely ignore basic maintenance, like using filtered water.
Right.
Those little things, they can really go a long way in extending the lifespan of your appliance.
Totally, totally. Now, one thing that always gets me with countertop appliances, the noise factor.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've got some blenders that are so loud you can't even hear yourself think.
Right. Like a jet engine taking off on your counter.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So how does this ice maker do noise-wise?
Well, the good news is the YouTube reviewer actually commented on how quiet it is. And, they even demonstrated it in the video.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, which is always good because then you can actually get a sense of the real-life sound level.
Totally. I don't need an ice maker that's louder than my music while I'm trying to make a drink.
Exactly. Ambiance is important.
Right. Okay, so anything else about the YouTube review that stuck out to you?
Let's see. Oh, they also talked about how quick and easy it is to use,
Okay.
which, tracks with what we saw in the product description and those positive user reviews.
Yeah.
And they basically made the whole process, filling up the water, getting the ice out. It all looked super simple.
See, that's a big deal for me. I'm not the most tech-savvy person,
Mm.
so the more user-friendly an appliance is, the better.
Oh, absolutely. No one wants to, wrestle with their ice maker.
Exactly. Okay, so this ecozy ice maker, checking a lot of boxes so far.
Right. It's looking pretty good.
But let's be real, even if it is compact, it's still another appliance that's going to need a spot on my counter, right?
That's a valid point. Counter space is definitely a hot commodity in most kitchens.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right.
I've got my coffee set up over here, my air fryer over there.
Mhm.
Now we're talking about adding a dedicated ice maker to the mix.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is.
But
Oh,
this is where that whole portability thing comes in handy.
okay, right.
Because in the video, the reviewer actually picks up the ice maker.
Okay.
And they show you, it's actually pretty easy to move around.
Oh, nice.
And they even suggested, you could use it for outdoor parties, gatherings, things like that.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't have to be, permanently on the counter.
Exactly.
It can be, our little ice-making sidekick.
I love that.
Right. There when we need it, tucked away when we do.
See, I love that. And that's a big selling point with these, smaller appliances. They're designed to actually complement your lifestyle, not complicate it.
I like that. Okay, so we've covered the product description, we've gone deep into the user reviews, we've even analyzed a whole YouTube video. This ecozy portable ice maker countertop sounded pretty good.
Yeah, it does seem pretty promising. But we haven't actually talked about how this model actually works,
Oh, right.
which, depending on what type of ice maker it is, could potentially influence your decision.
Okay, yeah. Tell me more.
So just to back up a bit, there are two main types of portable ice makers: compressor and thermoelectric.
Okay, so two main types of portable ice makers.
Mm.
Compressor and thermoelectric. Without, turning this into an appliance physics lesson, what's the difference? And why should I care?
Great question. So think of compressor ice makers like the heavy-duty trucks of the ice-making world. They use a compressor to cool refrigerant, which then cools the water down to freezing. And compressor models are known for making, clearer, denser ice, think those fancy cocktail bars.
Oh, okay.
And they also tend to be faster and more energy efficient over time.
So compressor ice makers, those are kind of the way to go then.
Well, they do have a lot of advantages for sure, but there are a couple of trade-offs.
Okay.
Compressor models, they tend to be pricier and they're usually bulkier, which might not be ideal if you're working with a tight budget or you just don't have a ton of counter space to spare.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so then thermoelectric ice makers, what's the deal with those?
So thermoelectric models, those are like the compact cars of the ice making world, smaller, more affordable, and generally quieter too. And instead of using a compressor, they use something called the Peltier effect.
The what effect?
Peltier.
Got it.
But basically what that means is they use electricity to create a temperature difference that cools one side of a plate while the other side heats up. It's kind of cool, actually.
Science. Okay, so this ecozy one, which one is it?
Based on everything we've learned, the ecozy is most likely a thermoelectric model.
Okay.
It's compact, it's lightweight, and it's very affordable, especially with that discount we were talking about earlier.
Okay, so that makes sense. But does that mean, we're sacrificing ice quality just to get those perks of convenience and price?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
While, thermoelectric models, they might make ice that's a little cloudier compared to the compressor ones.
Right.
The difference is often pretty minimal, especially if you're just using it for, everyday drinks and stuff.
True.
And, we did see those comments about the ecozy making foggy ice, so that's something to keep in mind.
Right. Okay, so we've got a good handle on the specs, the user experience. We even went a little bit into, the science behind it all.
We did.
But at the end of the day, is this ecozy portable ice maker countertop, is it worth it?
I gotta say, Based on everything we've looked at, it really does seem like a solid contender, especially if you're someone who values convenience, affordability, and having a more compact design.
Right.
It's relatively fast, it can make a good amount of ice, and it's got those nice little bonus features like self-cleaning and the 2 ice sizes.
And it seems like it could be fun to have around. Remember that reviewer who said it's like having a mini party in their kitchen?
Exactly. Who doesn't love a good kitchen party?
Exactly. But like any appliance purchase, it all comes down to like your individual needs and what you're really looking for. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are like your final words of ice wisdom for our listeners?
That's a good one. I would say, you know, really picture how this ice maker would fit into your life. Do you entertain a lot? Or are you just tired of those last-minute ice runs to the store? Does the idea of having fresh, cold ice, like at your fingertips, ready to go whenever you want, does that spark joy for you? If it does, then, this ecozy might just be the appliance you've been waiting for.
Well said.